The summer break for the F1 2021 MyDriver season is come and gone, and teams arrived at Silverstone for the season's one and only in-season testing session. Over the break, however, it wasn't the development of the cars that would be the big headline-grabbing news, but instead the developments in the driver market. Following the string of failures and frustrations with his team this season, the two-time world champion Aarava announced he would be departing from Jaguar Racing to join Haas Chevrolet F1. The American outfit had been working behind the scenes since the Hungarian Grand Prix to fully orchestrate this huge deal, which would not only mean buying out Aarava's contract, but also using Chevrolet's powerful position in the sport now to essentially play musical chairs with the driver market. Chevrolet, of course, power both Haas and Red Bull in 2021, but when they initially came into the sport last year, they agreed an exclusivity clause with Haas. So in return for agreeing to break this clause at the beginning of this season to allow Red Bull to use Chevy power, Haas obtained some serious leverage in this entire triangle relationship. Chevrolet bosses have had their eye on having a former world champion driver behind the wheel of one of their powertrains. They saw the opportunity rise to bring in Aarava after the Brit clearly showed his frustration with his team's lack of reliability and recurring mistakes. Two options were then discussed between the two parties. The first was rejoining Red Bull, but this was swiftly shut down, with both Aarava and Red Bull strongly against being involved with each other once again after their fallout in 2018. The second and final option then was to join Haas. Haas were keen to bring in Aarava to partner Pascal Wehrlein in order to aid their constructors' fight, but although Hülkenberg wasn't bringing in the big points for them compared to Pascal, they still remained on good terms with him and didn't want to simply cut out the German out of the picture. In stepped Chevrolet. The company greased the wheels of Red Bull and was able to secure Hülkenberg a drive alongside Pierre Gasly for the remainder of the season, with Red Bull having to bow down to the American unit's wishes, and they were forced to sideline Nico Kari, who had been doing a solid job so far alongside Gasly, to a reserve driver role for the rest of the season. And so, all parties under the Chevrolet umbrella were left happy under this huge domino effect deal, with even the former Mercedes teammates Aarava and Wehrlein expressing that their former disputes were all water under the bridge after 4 years at this point, and that they both even joked and talked to one another in the paddock from time to time about one another's situations when they both departed the German outfit. The reigning world champions Jaguar Racing were then left with a dilemma in the middle of the summer break. Stoffel Vandoorne expressed he was fully behind the team and was ready to fight hard for the remainder of 2021, but there was no denying the British team had lost now a big chunk of their performance this season. They opted to sign Esteban Ocon to take the vacant seat. The Frenchman has been in Formula 1 now for a few years and has always been pegged for the top drive eventually, and after strong showings for BMW Williams this season, Jaguar bosses saw him as their only good viable option, with BMW welcoming the cash injection of Jaguar buying out Ocon's contract, and most other big names in the sport committed to where they were situated. And finally, the last piece of the puzzle then, who would partner Perez now at BMW Williams? In steps Ferrari. Ferrari axed their effective junior driver team Alfa Romeo this season to focus their efforts on the championship with Giovinazzi and Leclerc, and in doing so they had to sideline Antonio Fuoco, who had performed quite well for Alfa Romeo, scoring a podium to his name. They proposed to fund Fuoco a drive at BMW Williams for the remainder of 2021, and with the bosses at BMW thinking long term, with even more cash now being injected into their pockets to help develop next year's car, and receiving a half-decent driver, they accepted the deal. And so Fuoco was announced to be alongside Perez for the remainder of 2021. And so there you have it, some big moves and plays by some of the biggest names in the sport and in motor racing, and now the Formula 1 paddock is ready for the final 6 rounds of this 2021 season.